Hey friends, welcome to day 5 of 14 days of Crafty Love 2026, and today I am creating some Valentine's tags using some scraps and little items from my stash. And this one I sewed on. I'm still having issues with my sewing machine. I messed with the tension and everything, but it's still not sewing right. So I might have to do a little research or why it's not sewing right, or maybe it's the thread that I'm using. Maybe the thread is causing that. So I need to do a little research into why that is. I was trying to do a zigzag stitch, and this is kind of how it turned out. So it's interesting, but it's definitely not the proper right stitch. So anyway, we're going to make a tag like this. And all of the papers here except the gold are scrap papers. And then I have this heart doily here from Michaels, some of my ephemera, and these little flowers from my stash, and Tim Holtz sentiment. And I put some twine at the top. So you are going to need some sort of adhesive, some scissors, your ribbon or twine for the top of your tag, a punch for the top of your tag. I'm using this Fiskars. This is a really small hole. That way it doesn't have this big hole that needs to be covered in your tag. Hot glue gun. I'm going to be using some foam tape. My little gem tool here. I've got some sentiments. And then I have my ephemera and my doily and my bases. So let's start building the base first. Oh, and I also have my flowers here. So this is going to be my base of my tag, and this was just a scrap of the red from making my cards yesterday. Making my cards, not yesterday, the day before. And then we're going to lay down this gold, and since I'm not stitching this, I'm just going to use my ad tack to lay this down. And we're going to center the gold. But if you would like to stitch, go ahead and stitch these 3 pieces together first. Once you have these 3 pieces, we're going to punch the hole. And I'm just eyeballing the center. It might not be perfect, but that's okay. All right, next you're going to need your doily, and you're going to need some scraps. You're going to need 2 of each base cut roughly the same width. They can be a little slightly different. They're just going to be little pieces that are going to be here sticking out underneath the doily. And then you're going to want to go ahead and cut them with a fishtail. So you're going to do that to all the pieces. And if you didn't want a fishtail, you could do like the slant or whatever. You could leave it squared off like this. That's all completely up to you. All right, let me clean up my little pieces here. And then what I did is I took my larger base, and then I added a little adhesive right in the middle towards the end. And then I just started layering my other pieces on here to figure out exactly how I wanted them to lay. And once they were how I wanted them, I just went ahead and trimmed. So I ended up with something like that. And you can make these as long or as short as you want. Once I got my pieces how I wanted them, then I turned my doily over and I added some adhesive on the back here where my little flags were going to go. And then I figured out exactly how I wanted them and where I wanted them and laid them down. And then I went back in and added some adhesive down to lay our rosette down, and that's definitely not perfect. These will kind of move, but this is just, I wanted to temporarily have them attached to where I wanted them to go on my heart, and then I could lay them down more securely. And now we're going to go ahead and build our base for our center here. And I'm just repeating the gold, and then I'm going to add this light pink in the middle. And then I'm going to lay this just down right kind of in the middle of the heart where you just see a little bit of the heart peeking out. All right, and then it's just time to decorate. So I grabbed these two pieces, so this heart and this bow. So I think I'm going to lay the heart down flat at like an angle, and then I'm going to pop up this bow here. So I'm going to grab my non-stick scissors for this. Once you have your foam tape on your bow or whatever piece you're going to use, go ahead and lay that down. And then I wanted to add some of these little flowers that I had in my stash. So we're going to lay them down in a cluster of 3. And to help me lay these down, I'm going to use my little tool here, which is actually used for diamond dots. But this little wax part here is perfect for picking up little flatbacks. I'm going to repeat and just do the cluster of 3. And I was really hoping I had some red flowers, but I did not have any red ones. So I just went with the white and the 2 pinks. All right, let's clean up some of those glue strings. All right, and last thing, we just need to add a sentiment. Let's see, I don't want to have anything too long. Let's do this, Be You Bravely. And I'm going to add a little extra ad tech to the back of this. And then we are going to add this down in this corner, and Let's add some twine and we are done with our tag. I think one of my favorite things to do is create with my scraps, and I love watching how my projects come together when I am using the scraps, because you would think smaller pieces of scraps that you really can't create anything pretty with them, but then things like this happen and I love how it turned out. So don't forget to use up those scraps. So here is our tag. I love the shiny gold on these tags. So thank you so much, guys, for stopping by for another day of the 14 Days of Crafty Love series. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you here tomorrow. Bye!